78 Sports TV here. Shout out to the LDBC. All right, today I'm gonna talk about dogs, man. Y'all know that's a passion of mine. The American Pitbull Terrier. Talking about these dogs. I mean, I love these dogs equally to boxing, man. I could talk dogs all day long with the right people, man. People who really know about dogs. I can sit there and learn from them. I can talk to them and share experiences and stories. I could sit there literally every day and talk to a dog, man, because it's always a story. It's always something that you can learn. And so, you know, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. You know, I think a lot of times today the problem is you got a lot of people who think they know everything, and can't nobody tell them shit and blah blah blah, and they know the truth about this and that. And in reality, you know, a lot of these stories and shit that y'all be hearing, a lot of these shits is fabricated as stories, exaggerations. A lot of stuff taken out of context, and a lot of them just flat out lies. You know, a lot of people try to romanticize a lot of things about a lot of these dogs throughout history, but you know, I highly doubt all of them are as accurate as they claim to be. But anyway, I got a few questions. A few brothers have been asking me to talk about dogs for a while. I've been trying to get some interviews lined up, but it's hard to get interviews with good dog men because, you know, the world is so secret, and, you know, a lot of, you know, people don't know, you know, they don't know me. They don't know, you know, so it's going to be hard to get those interviews and get that type of information for you guys. And I don't blame them because of, you know, how shady things are nowadays. You know what I'm saying? People are shady, they crooked. You never know what somebody's real agenda is. People got hidden agendas. So I don't blame any of the real dog men for being, you know, weary of new people or talking about their business and talking about dogs, and you know what I'm saying? I don't blame them. But anyway, a couple of subs hit me up and wanted me to talk about this. One brother wanted to know how I got into dogs, okay? And you know, because he into dogs, he told me his background on dogs, and he told me he wanted to know how I got into dogs and what made me passionate about the American Pitbull Terrier. And then another brother asked a question. He wanted me to explain bloodlines as far as like different types of American Pitbull Terriers and, you know, all of that stuff. All right, so I'll talk about that briefly. All right, so how I got into the dogs as a child, far back I can remember, I was surrounded by American Pitbull Terriers. As far back as I can remember, I mean, literally, that's not just a saying. But as far back as my memories go, okay, I can remember being around American Pitbull Terriers, okay? My grandfather, on my mother's side, he had American Pitbull Terriers, okay? He loved the dogs. He raised the dogs for years, well before I was born. You know what I'm saying? During my mother's day, you know what I'm saying, when she was a child, my grandfather had American Pitbull Terriers, okay? He was a true dog man, okay? He was private. He was a private man. He didn't trust a lot of people. He wasn't a dog breeder. He didn't have litters and, you know, advertise them and sell to the public, things of that nature. He was just an old school dog man who stayed to himself and to like-minded people, and he operated like he was a part of a secret society. That's how he operated, you know what I mean? And I learned a lot from him from the time, you know, I was fortunate enough to be here with him before he passed away. But far back as I can remember, I was around him, okay? My uncles had the dogs in the same family. My aunties had the dogs, you know, my cousins had the dogs, so on and so forth. He had the two dogs that I can definitely remember their names as a child. It was in the mid-'80s. Missy, a female, and Tess, a male, okay? These two dogs were brother and sister from the same litter. They were bolio dogs. Excuse me, not bolio, boomerang dogs, I should say. They were boomerang dogs. Now, in those, back then, we called them dibo dogs. My grandfather called them dibo dogs because boomerang, champion boomerang, was heavy dibo, tudors dibo, okay? So my grandfather, he gave respect to dibo and called them dibo dogs, okay? While technically some people today would technically call those dogs boomerang dogs, okay? But we grew up calling them dibo dogs, okay? And so at an early age, I had an understanding of bloodlines, okay? And how bloodlines could change, you know. But when my grandfather passed away, my uncle officially took over for him, okay? And he had the dogs, you know, what was left of the dogs. I think it was about 4 dogs left from my grandfather's dogs. And that's another thing. My grandfather would take these dogs, if he did breed them, because of course he bred them to keep the blood alive, but it was just for the family. He really didn't sell his dogs to anybody. That was some agreement he had with whoever he got his dogs from way back when, and he kept his promise, because can't recall him ever selling the dog to somebody, okay? He would keep his entire litter. If the dog had 8, 9 puppies, he would keep the entire litter, okay? Have them all chained up in the backyard, and we used to have to go out there, the kids. We'd go out there every day, feed them. We never got bit by a dog. We used to wrestle with the dogs, play with them. These were the perfect family dogs. I'm talking about the real deal American Pitbull Terrier, okay? And these same dogs that were built for combat were the most loving, compassionate dogs when it comes to human beings, okay? Like I said, he trusted these dogs enough to send his grandkids out there to feed them, clean up the doo-doo, you know, put some water in the bowls, right? The dogs would, you know, jump up, play and stuff like that. Never got bitten. Nobody ever got bitten by a dog, you know? I didn't start hearing about pit bulls biting people until sometime in like the 90s or some shit, when like all these new weird offshoots pit bulls start coming around where they're not really pit bulls, but people call them pit bulls, all that kind of weird shit. And then bad breeding, of course, you know what I'm saying? Bad breeding. Breeding with no structure, breeding with no guidance. You know, that can lead to that too. Now, I'm not saying that there were no man biters back in the day. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is my grandfather didn't tolerate it, okay? If there was a man biter in his stock, I didn't know nothing about it, because he got rid of it before then, before I knew about it. You know, he would keep all his puppies, okay? 8, 9 puppies, raise them up. Once the dogs got to a certain age, 6, 7 months or so, he chose the ones he wanted to keep, the ones that represented the best of the bloodline, the ones that represented what he was trying to do and preserve, and the rest of them he got rid of in a humane way. You know, I think they call it culling or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Which is just another word for, you know, killing. Right? And as a kid, boy, I couldn't understand that, you know. You fall in love with these dogs. Oh, this is, you know, this is your favorite dog. This is my dog, you know, Blackie, and all this type of shit, you know. And your granddad tell you, don't get too attached to that dog. He don't look like he gonna make it. Like, what you think? What you mean he ain't gonna make it? You know, he's a good dog. But I didn't know no better. You know what I'm saying? I was a kid, didn't know no better for what he was talking about, for what he was looking for. So, you know, I go to my grandfather's house one day, old Blackie gone. You know what I'm saying? So he ain't make it. It ain't work out for old Blackie. You know what I'm saying? But that's how it was. If the dog don't live up to the standards of excellence that you set and what you're trying to produce in your dogs, then that's what you do. That's how all these purebred dogs were developed, doing the same thing. So some people will say, oh, that's cruel and all this. How you think you got your purebred German Shepherd? How you think you got your purebred Rottweiler? Right? The same practices were used to develop. You get rid of the ones that don't display the characteristics that you want. So anyway, my uncle had the dogs, you know, after my grandfather passed away. And my uncle had he had a beautiful dog named Simba. All right. Simba was from my grandfather's line that he had continued, which was the boomerang dogs, okay, or AKA dibo dogs, okay. Simba was Simba was what my grandfather wanted to produce his whole life, what he wanted to preserve, what he wanted to do. He was the ultimate bulldog, in my opinion, Simba, okay. Now this was in like the early to mid 90s. I think it was like 94 or something. Whenever the fucking Lion King came out, and that's why they named him Simba. You know what I'm saying? And Simba was the last survivor from that bloodline, because the dogs had puppies, and my uncle kept Simba. Okay, he kept Simba by my grandmother's house, and he had the other dogs by his house. But my uncle got into some trouble, and you know, he had to go to prison, and the law enforcement came and took all his dogs, and you know, put all the dogs to sleep. So you know where I'm getting at with that. Okay, they euthanized all the dogs. They didn't get Simba because Simba was at my grandmother's house. Now, Simba was the last of what my grandfather spent 30 years producing. Okay, now he was a beautiful, beautiful dog, beautiful, strong as a bull. I mean, I wish I could get that dog right now, for real. You know, I just wish you could see what I'm talking about. And my uncle, you know, like he was gone or whatever, when he got out, by that time, we had gotten, you know, my aunties and other uncles had went around looking down in Louisiana to find some more bloodlines, you know, that were similar, you know, and I believe they got a dog from a man named Vince Cooper. Salute to Vince Cooper. And the dogs there were similar. They were boomerang as well. So we continued on with that and had the dogs, okay? So once again, this is what happened. And this is the dog business. This is fucked up, you know what I mean? But these were great dogs, produced great puppies, beautiful puppies. I'm talking about wrecking machines. 6 months old, can't stop them, wrecking machines, okay? Nobody was trying to do nothing with these dogs. 6 months is way too early if you ask me, but I'm telling you, the dogs was wrecking machines, okay? You couldn't stop them, all right? Now anyway, unfortunately, because my uncle was in prison, the rest of the family wasn't as educated on who to have in your business and who not to have in your business, you know what I'm saying? So one of my cousins, who was supposed to be taking over from my uncle, he was a real talkative guy. He liked to brag, you know. He's one of them guys who want to be on the Sporting Dog Journal front page. You know, he was one of them guys, a real John Gotti type guy. He liked to talk a lot. Instead of keeping things to himself in private, he wanted to challenge people all over the city, challenge people all over the country. And unfortunately, once people found out what was in that garage, somebody broke in and stole all the dogs, every last one of them, you know. And that's one of the misconceptions about pit bulls. People think that American Pitbull Terrier is some mean, aggressive dog that, you know, can't be approached. If they're real, they are the nicest dogs, and that's why they're the most stolen dog, because they can be approached. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather never believed in having American Pitbull Terriers as guard dogs. He never wanted his dogs to be man biters. So what he would do is, I remember when back in the 80s when he had Missy and Tess, I remember he had a Doberman named Dillinger. And Dillinger was the protector of the house. Dillinger was actually the protector of Missy and Tess, ironically. Even though Missy and Tess would destroy Dillinger, you know what I mean? Dillinger was the real guard dog. So while Missy and Tess would be confined somewhere where nobody can see them, Dillinger was free to roam, okay? And he kept the yard safe. Nobody came in their yard. Dillinger wasn't playing no games, you know, until one day a kennel accident happened where, you know, Dillinger accidentally let, you know, Missy and Tess out, and they didn't show no appreciation for his protection, and they destroyed him. You know what I mean? But, you know, live and you learn. But anyway, real quickly before I end this video, brother wanted to know about bloodlines, okay? The reason why it sounds like there's so many different bloodlines, a lot of them, it's not that many bloodlines. It's just that people call the bloodlines, like I just explained earlier. My uncle had what he called, and my grandfather called, dibo dogs, because dibo appears in Boomerang's pedigree a lot, okay? So they call them dibo dogs, but some people will call them Boomerang dogs, right? Some people will call them Carver dogs, right? Because the dogs, Boomerang was a Carver dog, right? So it might sound very confusing to a novice, but it all means the same thing. You can either, the dog can be named after the breeder, the owner, or famous dogs in the pedigree. So it all depends on your flavor and what your taste is. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. Some people call Eli dogs, Bodru dogs, Eli Jr. dogs, Bully Son dogs, you know? But it's all the same shit, really. It's all the same shit, you know what I'm saying? He's a turtle buster, kingfish. You know, people say, oh, I need some kingfish blood. And they talking about turtle buster, you know what I'm saying? That's all it is, you know? It sounds complicated, but it's really not. And, you know, this camera finna die, man. I wish I had time to do more. I'll just save it until, I'll come back with some more because I wasn't done talking, but this punk ass camera, I'm gonna have to get a new battery because this shit dies way too quickly nowadays. But anyway, I'll be back with some more videos. I'm gonna be doing these videos. I'm gonna try to do a game dog video once a week because I got a whole bunch of stories to tell, a whole lot of stuff to talk about. You know, it's a lot of, you know, it's just a lot of misconceptions and arrogance out here, man. It's just shit is really not true, but people try to push that shit off on y'all, man. You know what I mean? And just to give you a sneak peek, man, of what I'm talking about here, man. Look, man, I done seen dogs, okay, that come from royal bloodlines, right? Great bloodlines. The people, you show that pedigree and everybody getting moist, your dick getting hard off the pedigree. I done seen them same dogs go out here in these streets against a scatterbred mutt and get towed the fuck up. That's what I'm telling you. I done seen that with my own eyes. I'm not here to romanticize nothing, all right? But that's for another video. 78 Sports TV. Shout out to the LDBC, and I holla.